My name is Eleanor Bennett, and I was 35 years old when I finally understood that love without respect is nothing more than a burden disguised as devotion. For nearly 4 years, I quietly carried my family's financial responsibilities without asking for praise or recognition. My parents lived comfortably in a beautiful house because I paid the mortgage every month. My younger brother, Caleb, had his university tuition covered because I believed everyone deserved a chance to build a future. Family holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, even the annual lakeside retreat my mother insisted was essential for keeping everyone close, were all funded from my account. I never kept score. After my husband, Daniel, passed away unexpectedly, my only focus became our 2 children, Noah and Emma. They were just 4 years old when they lost their father. I wanted them to grow up surrounded by grandparents, uncles, cousins, and laughter. I wanted them to believe they belonged to something bigger than the 3 of us. Looking back, I realize I was the only one making that dream possible. Everything changed on an ordinary Tuesday morning. The children were arguing over pancakes, while I packed their school bags and glanced over the itinerary for our upcoming Caribbean cruise. I had organized every detail months earlier: cabins, excursions, dinners, and activities, because my family always relied on me to handle the planning. Just as I poured myself a cup of coffee, my phone vibrated. It was a text from my mother. "Plans have changed. You and the kids won't be coming anymore. Caleb thinks it would be better if only immediate family joined the trip." I stared at the screen. Immediate family? I read the words again, convinced I had misunderstood. Then I called her. She answered after several rings. "Oh, Eleanor," she sighed. "Please don't make this difficult." "Difficult?" I asked quietly. "You just told me my children aren't invited on a holiday I paid for." "It isn't personal," she replied. "Caleb's fiancé's relatives are joining us halfway through the cruise. He wants things to be simpler." Simpler. There just isn't enough room. There were enough rooms when I paid for them. Silence. Finally she admitted, "Well, Caleb upgraded everyone to luxury suites." I almost laughed. "With what money?" She hesitated. I already knew the answer. "Mine." One question remained. "So tell me honestly, Mum." My voice barely shook. "Are Noah and Emma considered family or not?" The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds. It felt like years. She never answered. I ended the call before she could. After taking the children to school, I drove home and opened my laptop. For the first time in years, I looked at every financial commitment I'd made for people who clearly saw my kindness as an obligation instead of a gift. The cruise payments. Cancelled. My parents' monthly mortgage support. Cancelled. Caleb's tuition transfers. Cancelled. The allowance I'd quietly been sending my mother every month. Cancelled. Then I opened one final folder. The property documents. The house my parents had lived in for nearly 7 years was legally mine. My name was on every contract. My credit had secured the loan. Every mortgage payment had come from my salary. I had simply allowed my parents to live there because I believed family helped one another. That afternoon I contacted an estate agent. By sunset, professional photographs had been scheduled. The property was listed for sale 48 hours later. I didn't announce my decision. I didn't argue. I didn't post dramatic messages online. Instead, I packed suitcases, collected Noah and Emma from school early, and told them we were going on an adventure. 3 hours later we arrived at a quiet seaside cottage overlooking the cliffs. The children squealed with excitement. They thought we were simply enjoying an unexpected holiday. I let them believe that. For the first time in years, I slept without wondering whether everyone else was happy before considering myself. A week later, my family returned from the cruise. According to a neighbor who later called me, my parents walked straight to the front door carrying matching suitcases and souvenir bags. Their key no longer worked. A new lock had been installed days earlier. In the front garden stood a large board displaying the estate agent's logo. For sale, under offer. My phone remained switched off until that evening. When I finally turned it on, the screen exploded with notifications. 48 missed calls. Dozens of voicemails. More than 100 text messages. Please call us. What's happening? You can't do this. The estate agent says the house is being sold. This has to be a mistake. I sat outside while the waves crashed against the rocks below. Oddly enough, I didn't feel guilty. I felt peaceful. When I eventually called my mother, she was crying before I even spoke. How could you do this to your own family? I asked one simple question. Which family? She fell silent. The family that removed 2 children from a holiday because they weren't important enough? It wasn't like that. Then explain it. She couldn't. Moments later, Caleb grabbed the phone. You've completely overreacted. Have I? It's only a holiday. No. It was a decision. You've made Mom and Dad homeless. I've stopped paying for a house I own. They have nowhere to go. They've had years to prepare for independence. You owe them. That sentence changed everything. No, I replied calmly. I never owed anyone my entire life. He accused me of being selfish. I reminded him that selfish people don't spend years paying other people's bills. He called me cruel. I reminded him that excluding 2 children because they didn't fit his perfect family image was cruelty. His anger disappeared. There was nothing left to say. Within 3 weeks, the house officially sold. After clearing the remaining mortgage balance, I purchased a modest home near the coast outright. It wasn't enormous. It didn't have marble floors or 5 bedrooms. It didn't need them. It was filled with peace. The remaining money went into investment accounts for Noah and Emma, ensuring they would have opportunities no one could ever take away. Months passed. The phone stopped ringing. The messages stopped arriving. The guilt they had tried to place on my shoulders slowly disappeared. Sometimes I still remembered the woman I used to be. The woman who believed saying yes kept families together. The woman who apologized for problems she didn't create. The woman who confused sacrifice with love. She no longer existed. One evening I watched Noah teaching Emma how to skim stones across the sea while the sunset painted the horizon gold. Their laughter echoed across the beach. Neither of them knew the full story. They only knew they were safe. They knew home wasn't a building someone else occupied. Home was wherever they were loved without conditions. That was the greatest gift I could ever give them. I didn't lose my family. I simply stopped mistaking obligation for love. The family that truly mattered had been beside me all along. And for the first time since losing my husband, I wasn't just surviving. Together, we were finally free.